I hope you've had an opportunity to be aware of your emotions and their functions this past week, and recognize what you feel. I want to continue the conversation about emotions because they are so important. And I want to talk about the function of them, of processing our emotions in the brain, and what happens when our emotional system becomes overwhelmed. So my hand is going to represent our brain. The wrist represents our brainstem, and the brainstem is responsible for most of our automatic functionings, like breathing, digestion, temperature, coughing, sneezing, um, those automatic things. The palm of my hand represents our emotional processing, where the emotions are processed. My thumb represents what's called the amygdala. This is like a fire alarm system that sounds a warning when our emotional system gets overwhelmed. And my fingers represent our prefrontal cortex, our executive functioning, our thinking brain. We want the thinking brain and the emotional brain to be connected. They communicate. Our thinking brain helps regulate our emotions and keeps everything in check so that we become really good emotional and thinking creatures. So our emotions happen and we can think and process through them without becoming reactionary. We can make good, sound decisions with the two of them connected. When our emotions become overwhelmed, when that system gets overwhelmed, then and the executive functioning can no longer work with it, can no longer contain it, and it becomes too emotional, too powerful. That energy of the emotions and all of that is too much. The amygdala takes action, it fires the alarm, and it flips the executive functioning offline. Dan Siegel, a child psychologist, calls this we flip our lid. I like the term. We flip our lid. So when our emotions become overwhelmed, the amygdala sounds an alarm system in the brain. It flips the thinking brain offline, flips our lid, sends message to the hypothalamus, which sends message to our nervous system to take fight, flight, or freeze action to protect us, to help us survive. That's what happens when our emotional system gets overwhelmed. In this state, we are purely running off of emotions. It is reactionary, it is a protective mode, it is to keep us safe, to help us survive. There's no reasoning, there's no clear thinking, there's no weighing our options or thinking about what is best. It's purely emotional. So when we get overwhelmed and we flip our lid, what can we do to bring that executive functioning back online? We don't feel safe when we flipped our lid. We're surviving and we need safety and security. Our system reacts when the autonomic nervous system triggers. Our physiologically, our system will, we've got these surge of hormones, adrenaline's running through us, we're breathing through from our chest, our heart rate is risen, and all of these things are telling our system it's not safe. So it's protecting. So one thing we can do is name our emotions to help tame it, to say what we're feeling, to name what it is. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm grieving. I'm I'm angry. I'm disgusted. Whatever it is, name it. That helps to tame it, letting your brain know that you know what you're feeling. So name the emotion that you're feeling. Then that kind of helps ground us. Another way of grounding is to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look around your surrounding and name 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell and one thing that you can taste. That just helps ground you and bring you back to the present and remind you where you are. Another thing is to slow our breathing. Move the air from breathing through our chest to our belly. Letting our belly rise and fall as we breathe, and slow the breath. So we breathe in a count of 4, hold a count of 3, and then breathe out a count of 6. That longer breathe out is important. So whether you want to go a 5, 4, 7, a 3, 2, 5, whatever. But I do a 4, 3, 7, 4, 3, 6. So breathe in for 4, hold for 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 6. Breathe in for 4. Hold 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 6. And as you're breathing, just focus on the air moving in and out of your nose. And that breathing and those grounding exercises will help your autonomic nervous system. It'll tell it that you're safe. The breathing slowed, so it'll let the system know it's safe and you're secure, which will allow the amygdala alarm to stop and the executive functioning to come back online. So this week, just practice calming your system if it gets dysregulated and you flip your lid. Practice the calming techniques. And then next time, we'll talk about how our buried wounds and our buried trauma and our buried emotions can trigger this system, this alarm system, too frequently, and what we can do to train our brain to deal with those emotions as we work through them, and how we can help keep our system, our emotions in check and regulated instead of allowing them to dysregulate us. So practice, and I'll talk to you next week.